Hello everyone, welcome to this week 2 of this course Metrics and Analytics of Marketing. This series of week 2 explores how interest metrics, margins and profitability indicators serve as core instrument in evaluating the effectiveness of a marketing campaign or any other marketing initiative. By integrating theoretical foundation, analytical rigor and proven industry best practices, this series demonstrates how marketing metrics and analytics underpin strategic business making process, and it propels sustainable growth and secure long term profitability of the business. As Peter Drucker emphasizes, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer, and effective measurement is essential to fulfilling this purpose. You need to acquire new customers, at the same time you need to retain the customer for the long term profitability of the business. In today's lectures, what we will focus is on measuring the strategic goals and understanding why metrics are central to marketing decision making process. Let us start this session with an understanding of the strategic goals. Basically, strategic goals are broad, specific and long term objectives that organizations aim to achieve to fulfill their mission. They basically guide the long term direction and define where the organization want to be after a specific period of time. If we look at the characteristics of strategic goals, as I said that it is for long term, they should be in alignment with the vision of the organization, they should be actionable in nature, they should be measurable, they should be flexible and adaptive at the same time. So, now we will look into measuring the strategic goals in marketing. Marketing strategic goals are broad objectives achieved through marketing initiatives. One of the example can be boosting a social media followers by 30% in the next 5 months. Basically, these goals provide focus, planning clarity and competitive advantage. If I look significance wise, these goals provide direction and focus, they facilitate effective planning, they enable performance management, they boost competitive advantage and ultimately they support the long term business growth. What cannot be measured cannot be managed. We already know that. In the last session also we have started with this same quote. What cannot be measured cannot be managed and cannot be improved. So, measurement basically enables tracking progress, identifying the gaps and making the decision which is driven by data. That is why the probability of the decision being correct is always higher, because it is informed decision which is backed by the data. Now, we will look at the strategic planning process. Basically, this strategic planning process includes defining the mission, setting the objectives, designing strategies, selecting metrics and ultimately evaluating the outcomes. So, as you can see in this diagram, it starts with clarifying the mission, vision and values. Once this mission, vision and values are clarified, what do? We will do a scanning of the internal and external environment, because external environment is dynamic in nature and we need to adapt our internal resources so that it fits to the external macro environment and we can achieve our goals within the changing dynamics of the external environment. Then we set the strategic priorities, and once the strategic priorities are set, we will move for developing the goals and the corresponding metrics. Once these goals and corresponding metrics are developed, what we can do? We can derive a strategic plan from this analysis. Now, ultimately what we have to do? Once a sketch of the strategic plan is done, then we have to document it, and ultimate purpose is to implement, monitor and revise the strategic plan as we progress in the process of learning. Next, we also need to understand the strategic goal measurement. What is goal measurement? It is a systematic approach of defining, prioritizing and tracking the progress towards the strategic objectives. What it involves? It involves setting the measurable and time bound objectives. All the objectives has to be measurable, it has to be quantifiable, and it has to be within a given, it has to be fulfilled within a given time frame. Otherwise, it might become irrelevant if the time frame is not set. It has to be in alignment with departmental and individual goals and the corporate strategy. Means everything should be in sync. My individual goal, my department's goal and my corporate goal should direct the same direction. It also involves monitoring performance through metrics and the dashboard, and ultimately it involves regularly reviewing and adjusting based on the results. Now, we will look into the various benefits associated with the goal measurement. So, basically the goal measurement assigns quantitative and qualitative indicators such as the market share, customer acquisition cost and customer satisfaction to our strategic objectives. Effective goal measurement improves clarity, it improves motivation, accountability and strategic alignment along with the organizational goals. So, what it yields is basically the decision making process becomes data driven. The managers become bound to optimize their resources because their performance will be measured quantitatively. It improves the accountability. For every penny spending, the person has to be accountable. Everything will be calculated probably in terms of the ROI or the associated relevant metrics. Then it helps us in evaluating the performance quantitatively. It helps us track the return on investment in a real time setting, and it helps us for continuous improvement. Next, we will look into the fact of aligning goals with mission and vision. This is important. As I said, if my individual goal, my department's goals, my corporate goals do not align in the same direction, then probably at the end of the year, I might end up achieving my goal, or all the individuals might end up achieving their individual goals, but not the organizational goal. Marketing goals must align with organizational mission, vision and values to ensure coherence and efficiency. So, this ensures that every action, initiative and target directly supports the organization's core purpose and long term aspiration. Strategic goals, when properly aligned, acts as actionable steps that bridge the gap between current performance and the envisioned future state. So, basically we are ensuring that every individual step, every individual action is directed towards the ultimate organizational goal. Next important thing is to how to integrate the metrics along with the strategy. Metrics should reflect the strategic priorities and link marketing performance with the financial outcomes. I mean, why do we take a marketing initiative? In order to achieve something. For a business organization, what is that achievement? That is probably profitability or long term profitability. It can be for the purpose of creating more brand awareness, but at the end of the over a long period of time, probably this more brand awareness will result in more revenue and more profitability for the organization. So, that is why it is important to integrate the matrix along with the strategy. Integrating marketing matrix with strategy ensures alignment between tactical actions and business goals. Matrix act as navigational tools guiding marketing teams to measure what matters, respond to the evolving changes and continuously refining their strategy, so that we do not get deviated from our corporate goals. Some of the key points that needs to be taken into consideration while integrating the matrix with strategy are: aligning the KPIs, means key performance indicators, across departments such as sales, marketing, finance, production department. For example, if the KPIs of the sales department is not aligned or not compatible with the KPIs of the production department, what will happen? The sales department will increase the sales, and I mean future sales, by 50%, but at the same time it is not streamlined towards the downward direction. Means, let us say we had been selling 1 lakh unit, now in the next year we plan to sell 1,15,000 units, but our production department is not ready to produce that many units. So, there will be a problem, there will be information asymmetry, there will be structural asymmetry. So, that is why we need to align the KPIs across various relevant departments. Second point is connects the early stage engagement with the bottom line impact. In one of our previous session, we discussed about the marketing funnel, and we also discussed that at each of the stage of the marketing funnel, we lose some of the customers or potential customer. So, basically integrating matrix with strategy helps us reducing this loss at different stages, if we can take corrective action at each of the stages. For instance, if the ratio between the lead generated and actual enrollment is lesser, then probably there is something that must be improved in terms of counseling. So, counseling has to be improved so that the leads gets converted to actual enrollment. So, integrating the matrix with the strategy also helps us. It enables the real time code correction via the dashboard. So, that is why it is extremely important. Now, when we talk about the strategic goals, what are the characteristics of the strategic goals? It cannot be just a theoretical concept, it has to be applied in practical sense. So, there are certain characteristics of the strategic goals in order to make it work in the real life. So, all these characteristics can be covered under the SMART framework. I think we have already mentioned about what this SMART framework refers to, but I will try to explain you what the SMART framework refers in the context of strategic goals. It is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time bound. What does specific refers here? Specific means there is no ambiguity, there is no bias of interpretation, it is very clear. Strategic goal has to be very clear, it has to be, my understanding about the goal has to be same as my boss understanding regarding the same. Then next one, it has to be measurable. We should be able to quantify the extent to which we have achieved a strategic goal. Unless and until it is quantifiable, it becomes extremely difficult to handle that strategic goal. We will not, at the end of the year, we will not be able to find out whether we have achieved significantly on that strategic goal or not. Next characteristic is that it has to be achievable, means we have to be in alignment with the reality. Let us say what will be an unrealistic or unachievable strategic goal is that, Let's say we are not changing any budget, or we are not changing any, or we are not doing any optimization in our marketing initiative. We will just continue with the status quo. Whatever we had been doing, we will keep doing in the next year also. And there is no change in the macro environment. Market, there is no change in the market. Whatever was demand in the last year, the same demand will continue in the next year also, and there is no change in the competitive landscape. So, will it not be unrealistic to set a goal to increase the market share from 10% to 15%? So, we are expecting a growth of 50% without doing any initiative in marketing, and there is no change in the macro environment as well. So, that will be probably unachievable, that will be unrealistic. Next, the strategic goal has to be relevant. If it is irrelevant, it has no meaning. So, the example of relevance can be this one. Let us say the strategic goal is to achieve the 5G network availability across all our customers, right. So, today 5G is relevant, but tomorrow 5G may not be relevant. So, we are talking about 5G. Today we cannot probably talk about 3G, because no customer will prefer to have a 3G network. So, relevance comes into picture, and ultimately time bound. So, if it is not time bound, if it is in a infinite span, then in that case the problem itself will become irrelevant. That is why all these 5 characteristics has to be there in our strategic goal. Now, let us look at the common challenges in the goal measurement. First one is lack of clear objectives. We do not know what is our actual objective. We do not know how to quantify our actual objectives. Then the metrics are misaligned. Individual metrics may be misaligned with the departmental metrics, and departmental metrics may be misaligned with the corporate metrics. So, then the goal measurement becomes a complex task. Then there can be issues related to the quality of the data. Let us say we have collected same data through a survey method. There can be a possibility of common method bias. There can be a possibility of social desirability bias. So, data quality becomes a problem. Then over reliance on the vanity metrics. So, sometimes if the matrix itself does not work, or matrix does not measure what it claims to measure in real sense, then entire decision will go in a very wrong direction. Another aspect is difficulty in measuring the intangibles. Tangibles are always easy to measure, but when it is intangible, probably we need to apply multiple proxies to measure the intangibles, and that becomes prone to various errors. Then comes the short term focus. So, we always focus on the short term rather than our long term plan. Probably it is something like, instead of concentrating on foreseeing the yearly target, we are looking into the monthly target. So, there can be a possibility that towards the end of the year, the sales become difficult. So, if we are not compensating the anticipated sales in the future in the initial months, then probably it will be a problem in the towards the last months. So, we should not look at the short term, and ultimately by human tendency there is a resilience towards accountability. I do not want myself to be accountable for my actions. I want to exercise my empowerment. I want to exercise my power, but at the same time, if something goes wrong, if I have to quantify it, I do not want to be accountable for it. So, these are the various problems associated with, various challenges associated with the goal measurement. So, we have already discussed about this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 challenges associated with the goal measurement. So, now we will look into one real world example. The context is the Coca-Cola. So, Coca-Cola's marketing strategy, basically if we look at the Coca-Cola's marketing strategy, they emphasizes on customer centric campaigns. they emphasize, now they have started emphasizing more on the digital transformation. Then they have also started localizing the matrix to maintain the global leadership. So, if I look at the digital transformation perspective, I will give you some data. Till 2019, I mean to be specific, in the year 2019, Coca-Cola used to spend only 30% of their total media spent on digital media. But over a period of time, they have understood that digital media is the future of marketing, and they have increased the spend on digital media from 30% to 60 to 65%. There is more than 100% increase in expenditure of digital media. So, why they are doing it? One is the number of people who are exposed to digital platforms are tremendously increasing. Second one is, it is easier for the organization to measure the performance of the digital media as compared to traditional media. For example, let us say if I have started with a social media campaign, let us say in the form of a social media post boosting. In my dashboard, I will be easily able to see what is the number of impression, what is the click through rate, then how many people have signed up, what is the lead generated for me, and ultimately from this lead generated, how many got converted to a actual customer. So, it is much easier for me, I will be able to easily calculate the return of marketing investment, ROMI, return on marketing investment, in case of digital media. But it becomes a bit problematic in case of traditional media. Let us say I have broadcasted a advertisement in the television, I have broadcasted an advertisement in the newspaper. It will be extremely difficult for me to understand who are the customers who have seen this advertisement in television or in the newspaper and develop certain interest, desirability, and ultimately ended up in a purchase. What I have to do? I have to either take the feedback from the customers. So, whenever there is a process in between, then there is always a probability of misinformation. Probably the customers may not be remembering whether how did he come to know about this product, whether he has seen it in a TV advertisement or a newspaper advertisement. So, probably the customers will just fill up a random value. Let us say though he has seen the advertisement in the television, he might be give a response that he has heard it from a friend. So, attribution, there is a attribution problem. So, that is why digital media has become one of the important initiative in the broad domain of marketing, and Coca-Cola has understood it very clearly, and that is why they are the market leader. By centering its global campaign on the customer needs, investing heavily in the digital transformation and expanding through localized strategies, Coca-Cola demonstrate how rigorous goal measurement drives sharper focus, greater accountability, and optimal use of resources, ensuring continued leadership in global beverage industry. So, we can also have a look at the data. So, as per the Facebook sentiment analysis is concerned, Coca-Cola is the market leader. Because of this characteristic, they have moved themselves towards a data driven marketing strategy, towards a metric driven marketing strategy, towards a more accountable marketing initiatives. So, if the marketing initiatives are accountable in quantifiable forms, then probably there will not be any problem even from the finance department. Otherwise, if you are not accountable, if your performance cannot be properly measured, then in that case your chief financial officers will have a problem in granting additional funds for the marketing initiatives, because you cannot convert it in numbers. you cannot show him what is the profitability that is expected from this additional investment. So, that is why it becomes extremely important to quantify and measure the strategic goals. So, with this note I will conclude today's session. In the next session we will try to continue with this same topic. I mean, towards this week we will just continue with this matrix of interest, margins and profits. I will see you in the next session. Thank you.